Don't expect birthday gifts, Dad said. We're saving everything for your brother's kids. They're the future of this family. I was 35. I said, makes sense. Then I stopped paying Dad's life insurance premium, $340 per month for 8 years, that he didn't know I'd been covering. When the policy, don't expect birthday gifts, my dad said, cutting himself another slice of store cake. We're saving everything for your brother's kids. They're the future of this family. I just turned 35. My daughter, Hannah, was sitting right next to him, pink paper crown from Dollar Tree sliding down over one eye, hands folded in her lap. She'd watched my brother's boys open envelopes thick with birthday cash and a certificate for a college starter fund Grandpa had set up. She hadn't gotten anything. Her little plastic tiara had come from her friend's party box last week. She thought it was funny to match me for my birthday. Now she just stared at her empty spot on the table. I could feel my throat closing. The cheap candle smoke, the smell of frosting, the pretend laughter from the other end of the table. It all went weird and echoey. Dad, my brother Mark said, laughing awkwardly. You can't say it like that. Why not? My dad shrugged, holding his fork like a gavel. It's the truth. We've only got so much. We're focused on the grandkids who'll actually carry the name. Can't be handing out presents to everyone forever. He glanced at Hannah when he said, everyone, like she was some random kid who snuck into the buffet line. I felt Hannah's sneaker press against my shoe under the table. A tiny, searching nudge. I swallowed down what I wanted to say and heard myself answer instead. Yeah, I said. Makes sense. My hands were shaking when I picked up my paper plate. I hope no one noticed. Because in that moment, all I could think was, I have been paying for his future of this family for 8 years, and he doesn't even know it. And my kid isn't part of it at all. I'm Kevin, 35, small town in Indiana you only know because our highway exit has a billboard for world's biggest corn dog. I'm a cashier at a gas station off that exit. Night shifts mostly, because the pay differential is the only reason rent clears every month. Single dad to one kid, Hannah, 9. Her mom dipped when Hannah was 3 and decided Florida and a new boyfriend sounded better than co-parenting. So it's been us since. My parents live 15 minutes away, in the same 2-story they bought before I was born. My brother Mark lives 10 minutes in the other direction in a nice subdivision with a HOA and a community pool and a SUV that whistles when you lock it. He's an electrician, his wife's a nurse, they have 2 boys. Blonde, loud, constantly sticky. My parents call them the boys like they're a TV show. I've always been the one who struggles a bit, but means well. That's the line my mom used once. I heard it through the kitchen wall. They don't see me as much more than that. And a wallet they didn't have to look at too closely. It started 8 years ago when Dad had his little heart scare, as Mom calls it. He called me from the hospital, voice shaky, for the first time sounding old. Your mom's freaked out, he said. Doctor's saying I should get some term life in case, worst happens. But premiums are crazy at my age. Don't know how we'll swing it. I just finished a double shift at the station. My feet hurt, oil smell stuck to my hair. I had $200 in my checking account until payday. I still remember the way his voice dipped when he said, guess we won't have much to leave behind. I thought about Mom alone in that house, bills piling up. I thought about Mark's boys, then Hannah, tiny and asleep in her car seat that night. I'll help, I said. Whatever it costs, I'll help. He hesitated. You already got enough on your plate, son. But he didn't say no. We met with the insurance guy in their cramped office with dusty fake plants. Dad signed papers. Mom asked if there was a discount for non-smokers who only drink on the weekends. The agent laughed politely. Then he slid a paper across to me. Given your parents' income, we'd have to draft the premium from someone else, he said. You're the payer, they're the insureds. $340 a month. It might as well have been the moon. I did the math on a napkin while they joked with the agent. I could cover it if I worked every holiday and picked up extra graveyard shifts. If nothing else broke. If Hannah didn't outgrow her sneakers too fast. I signed anyway. Dad patted my shoulder. You won't regret this, he said. Funny thing is, he never actually asked how much it was. I don't think he wanted to know. As long as the little premium notice showed up with paid stamped on it, he was satisfied. After that, the pattern settled in. They needed help with the car repair when Dad backed into a pole. I put $600 on my credit card. Property taxes caught them off guard. I loaned them $1,200. No one mentioned it again. The new water heater, prescription meds, Even groceries some months when mom overspent on the boys' birthday parties. My debit card came out automatically. Somehow I always figured it out. New shift at the gas station. DoorDash on my nights off. Selling my old guitar to cover a surprise copay. Meanwhile, Hannah grew up in the periphery of their attention. At Christmas, the boys got bikes and gaming consoles and future college fund certificates tucked into red envelopes. Hannah got fuzzy socks or a coloring book from the dollar section. When my parents took all the grandkids to the zoo, they accidentally bought 3 tickets instead of 4. Mom smiled tight and said, "We'll go again with just Hannah sometime," and never did. They framed the boys' school photos on the mantle and tucked Hannah's into the corner of the fridge behind a grocery list. I saw it. Hannah saw it. I told myself they were just old-fashioned, that they didn't know how to handle the whole single dad thing, that once they got to know her more, they'd come around. So I kept showing up, kept paying the premium. $340 a month. 8 years. That's a used car. That's braces. That's a chunk of college for Hannah. Instead, it was funding a future I now knew she wasn't part of. My 35th birthday was supposed to be low-key. We did it at my parents' place, because Mom insisted. "You don't have to bring anything," she said. "Just yourself." And Hannah, of course. Of course. I brought a store-brand pecan pie anyway, because I can't show up empty-handed to their house. That's the unspoken rule. Hannah drew a little card. She wrote, "Happy 35 Daddy," in bubble letters and drew the 3 of us. Me, her, and my beat-up Corolla with a party hat on it. She was excited. Grandpa said we'd have a surprise for all the grandkids after dinner. I should have known. We finished eating. Dad tapped his glass. Mom shuffled around with a stack of white envelopes. "For the boys," she said, handing 2 thick envelopes to Mark's kids. "From us. For your futures." Then she handed a 3rd envelope to Mark himself. "And that's for you, to help with their college fund," she added, proud. They opened them. Lots of zeros. The boys yelled. My parents beamed. Hannah watched, hands folded. I waited. "Any more?" Mark asked lightly, glancing at me. Dad shook his head, already reaching for the cake knife. "That's it. We talked about this. We're focusing on where it matters now. Every extra cent is going into the boys. They're the ones who'll carry the family forward." He winked at Mark. Then he looked at me like he was delivering a life lesson. "Don't expect birthday gifts, Kev. We're saving everything for your brother's kids. They're the future of this family." Hannah's eyes slid from the envelopes to my face. "Grandpa," she said quietly, "am I family?" The room went so still I could hear the clock in the hallway. Mom laughed, high and nervous. "Of course you are, sweetheart. Don't be silly." "But why don't I get an envelope?" she asked. It wasn't whiny. It wasn't even sad. Just confused, like she was trying to figure out the rules of a game everyone else already knew. Dad cleared his throat. "We only have so much to spread around, kiddo," he said. "Your daddy's a grown man. He doesn't need us buying him presents. And you've got him. These boys, well, they're our legacy." He said legacy like Hannah was a receipt he didn't need to keep. I saw Mark flinch a little, but he didn't say anything. Just tucked the envelopes into his jacket. Hannah looked down at her drawing. The edge of it crumpled a little in her hand. That was the moment something in me just clicked. Quietly, like a switch in the back room. I pictured every autopay notification. Every time I ate instant noodles the last 3 days before payday. Every midnight I'd said, yes, when my boss asked if I could cover yet another graveyard shift. $340. Every month. For 8 years. I smiled. It felt wrong on my face. "Yeah," I said. "Makes sense." Dad nodded, satisfied, already cutting cake. Hannah didn't eat hers. I didn't rage. I didn't storm out. I helped clear plates, thanked my mom for dinner, hugged my dad when he gave me a half-hearted happy birthday son. On the drive home, Hannah stared out the window, her drawing on her lap. "Am I not legacy?" she asked after a while. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What do you mean?" "Grandpa said the boys are future family." "What am I?" "You're my whole family," I said. My voice came out rougher than I meant. She nodded, but I could tell it didn't land all the way. There was a new distance in her eyes. When we got home, I tucked her into bed, even though she was too big for that, Dad. She clung to me a little longer than usual. "You're still getting a present," I said, trying for light. "Just late. Paycheck's on Friday." She smiled. "Can it be books?" "Books it is." She rolled over. I watched her shoulders rise and fall, small and steady under her worn unicorn blanket. Then I went to the kitchen, pulled out my cracked phone, and opened the insurance app. The login screen blinked. Welcome, Kevin. Policy. Term life. Insured. Robert Miller, Dad. Monthly premium. $340. Status. Active. Next draft. 3 days. I scrolled through the payment history. 8 years of little green check marks. My name beside every one. Total paid. More money than I'd ever seen in one place. More money than most of the people I ring up at the gas station will ever have in their savings. There was a button under it. Manage payments. I stared at it for a long time. I remembered my dad patting my shoulder in that office. You won't regret this. I remembered Mom gushing about the boys' future just last Christmas. When we're gone, they'll be set. Like it was some big secret gift they were working on. I remembered Hannah tonight, staring at the envelopes like they were magic tricks she hadn't been invited to see. I tapped Manage Payments. A new screen. Auto draft from my checking account ending in 8149. A toggle button, glowing green. Enable autopay. On. My thumb hovered. I thought about calling them, warning them, asking one more time if they wanted to rethink any of this. To maybe open a savings account in Hannah's name, too. To at least pretend she mattered. But they knew what they were doing. They just didn't think I'd ever stop paying for it. I switched the toggle off. A red pop-up. Are you sure you want to disable autopay? Your policy may lapse if payment is not made by the due date. I felt my heartbeat in my teeth. Yes, I whispered and tapped confirm. The confirmation screen came up. Autopay, OFF. Next payment due. 3 days. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Then I went one step further. I clicked Contact Us, waited on hold through tinny saxophone music until a customer service rep came on and confirmed, politely, that they'd mail all future notices to my address instead of my parents'. Just want to make sure nothing gets lost, I said. When I hung up, it was nearly midnight. The house was so quiet I could hear the fridge humming. I slid my phone onto the counter and leaned back against the cabinet. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady, strange and steady, like standing on ground that finally stopped tilting. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to threaten. I was just done. One move. That was it. The first notice came a few weeks later. A thick envelope in my mailbox with the company logo. I opened it over the sink while Hannah did homework at the table. Past due notice, it said. Your premium has not been received. Your policy will enter grace period in 15 days. I set it on the counter. That night, Mom called while I was stocking the cooler at the station. The beer bottles clinked as I shifted the crate. Hey, I answered, holding the phone between my shoulder and ear. Kevin, she said, voice flustered. We got a funny letter. Something about your father's policy. Says payment wasn't received. Did your bank mess something up? I watched my reflection in the glass door. The bags under my eyes. The way my uniform always hung a little crooked. No bank issue, I said. I stopped paying it. Silence. What? She snapped. I said I stopped paying it, I repeated. I kept my voice level. I've been covering $340 a month for 8 years. That's done now. Kevin, she hissed like I'd sworn in church. This is not funny. Do you know how important that policy is? It's our security. It's the boys' future. There it was again. Not Hannah. Not mine. The boys. I know exactly how important it is, I said. I know exactly how much it costs, too. Your father doesn't know you've been paying, she said, as if that helped. He thinks it just comes out. If he finds out, he'll be furious. That sounds like your problem, I said. She lowered her voice, like Dad might overhear through the phone. We're in our 60s, Kevin. We don't have time to get another policy. What are we supposed to do? I looked at the rows of cheap beer and energy drinks. I don't know, Mom, I said. Maybe stop telling my kid she isn't part of the family's future while you spend my money on everyone else. That's not fair, she shot back. You're upset about some birthday envelopes. No, I cut in. I'm upset that my daughter has never once been treated like she's yours. I'm upset that you've been planning legacies and college funds for Mark's kids with a policy I pay for while acting like Hannah's extra. You're being dramatic, she said. I could hear dishes clinking in the background. This is about money, isn't it? You always had a chip on your shoulder about not earning as much as Mark. There it was. The jab. I took a breath, in and out. This isn't about Mark, I said. It's about Hannah. And about me not being your backup bank anymore. Kevin, I'm serious, I said. I'm not paying for a future my kid isn't part of. The policy will lapse if you don't cover it. That's your choice. Just like this is mine. She started to cry then. My mom's cry has always sounded like the kettle boiling. Same pitch, same rising whine. So that's it, she said. You're going to let your parents go without protection? After everything we've done for you. I pictured Hannah's drawing on their fridge, half hidden. The boys' school photos in shiny frames on the mantel. After everything I've done for you, I thought. Yeah, I said quietly. That's it. I hung up. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Dad this time. I let it go to voicemail. The next month, there was another letter. Your policy has entered grace period, it said. Please remit payment to avoid cancellation. It sat on the counter for a week, right next to the electric bill and Hannah's spelling test with a gold star. Then the final one came. Cancellation notice. Policy terminated due to non-payment as of date. Cash value, modest. Option to reinstate. Maybe, with proof of insurability and back premiums. I read it once, folded it, and slid it into a folder with my own paperwork. Not because I wanted anything from it, just because I didn't trust them not to twist it into something else later. The explosion came that Sunday. We were halfway through pancakes when someone pounded on my apartment door like they were planning to kick it in. Hannah froze, fork halfway to her mouth. It's them, she whispered. I told her to stay put and opened the door a crack. Dad stood there in his Carhartt jacket, face red in a way I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. Mom hovered behind him, eyes already shiny. What did you do? He demanded, pushing past me into the living room without waiting for an invitation. Good morning to you too, I said. He waved a paper in my face. The cancellation notice. This. Why are they saying the policy's gone? Your mother tells me you've been meddling with the payments. Meddling, I repeated. That's one word for it. Hannah peered over the back of the couch. Dad noticed her, then looked away like she'd turned into a lamp. You fix it, he said. Call them. Tell them you made a mistake. Get it reinstated. No, I said. He blinked. Excuse me. I said no, I repeated. I'm not paying for it anymore. It's gone. You want another policy, you pay for it. Do you have any idea what you've done? He shouted. That was for the boys. For when we're gone. We promised Mark. His eyes flicked toward Hannah, and he corrected himself. We had plans, he said. I know, I said. You told me. You told me right to my face that everything's for Mark's kids. That they're the future of this family. You said it in front of my daughter on my birthday. That was a joke, Mom said weakly. Hannah's voice came soft from the couch. It didn't sound like a joke. Dad spun toward her, then back to me, as if he couldn't decide which of us to yell at. You're punishing your mother and me because some feelings got hurt, he said. Dad, I said, I have paid you more than $30,000 for that policy. While working nights at a gas station. While raising a kid alone. And in all that time, you never once thought, hey, maybe some of this should be for Hannah too. He opened his mouth, then closed it. You were grateful when I set it up, he muttered. I was naive when I set it up, I corrected. I thought I was helping my parents so they wouldn't have to worry. I didn't understand I was funding a legacy I'm not part of. Mom stepped forward, hands clasped. We never said you weren't part of the family. You just act like it, I said. You act like I'm the help. The guy who fixes things and pays bills. And my kid? She's an afterthought. You don't get both. You don't get to treat her like she doesn't count and then expect me to underwrite your definition of family. Kevin, be reasonable, Mom pleaded. Without that policy, when your father dies, there will be nothing. There it was. Not fear of loss. Fear of leaving Mark with nothing. I thought of Hannah's future. Her braces, her college, even just a car that starts every morning. Then you better start saving, I said. Because I already have my own nothing to deal with. Dad's jaw tightened. You're gonna regret this, he said. Blood is blood. Those are still your parents. I looked at Hannah. Her small face, eyes bouncing between us like she was watching a game where she already knew her side was losing. I know, I said. That's why this hurts. But I'm done paying for the privilege of being treated like a stranger. He stepped toward me like he might what? Shove me? Lecture me closer? I didn't move. Get out, I said quietly. What did you say? Get out, I repeated. We're done talking about this. You're off my accounts. I'm not your backup bank. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. Mom started crying again. You can't mean that. I do, I said. I'll always answer if you call about an ambulance or a fall or something real. But money? Legacies? Policies? No. That door's closed. Hannah slid off the couch and came to stand next to me. She slipped her hand into mine, fingers still sticky with syrup. Dad looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time and didn't like what he saw reflected back. "Let's go," he told Mom. She lingered in the doorway. "Maybe we can talk when you calm down," she said. "I am calm," I answered. "That's the whole point." I closed the door gently. Hannah leaned into me. "Are we in trouble?" she asked. "No," I said. "We're just done paying for other people's future." The calls kept coming that week. From Mom, from Mark, even from my aunt, who somehow made it about honoring your elders. Mark's was the most honest. "What, man?" he said when I finally picked up one night on my break. I was sitting on a milk crate behind the station, watching trucks roar down the highway. "Mom says you let the policy lapse." "Sure did," I said. "They were counting on that," he snapped. "We made plans. I can't just save that kind of money out of nowhere." "The boys will be fine," I said. "You and Jenna both work. You own your house. You have 2 incomes. You'll figure it out." "That's not the point," he said. "The point is Dad expected that money. We all did. You can't just pull the rug out like that." I laughed, short and humorless. "Funny. That's exactly how Hannah felt on my birthday." "Kev, she's a kid. She'll forget." "She won't," I said. "And even if she did, I won't." I watched my father look at my daughter and call somebody else the future of this family. "I'm not going to funnel my paycheck into that sentence anymore." "You're punishing them," he said. "I'm protecting her," I answered. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing. "You know they're telling everyone Jenna and I will have to take care of them now," he said finally. "That you abandoned them. That's their story to tell," I said. "Here's mine. I supported them quietly for 8 years. I paid for a policy that never included my kid. I asked for nothing back. When I realized what that money was actually buying, I stopped. That's all." "You sound like a lawyer," he muttered. "Or like you've been rehearsing that speech." "I've been rehearsing walking away from them for years," I said. "The speech is the easy part." He sighed. "The boys are going to be disappointed," he said, one last guilt trip attempt. "So is Hannah when she realizes her grandparents chose money over her," I said. "I can't fix their choices. I can only fix mine." He didn't have anything after that. "Whatever," he said finally. "Don't come crying to us when you need help someday. You've never had to worry about that," I said, and hung up. The world didn't end. Dad didn't have a heart attack out of spite. The roof didn't fall in. I still went to work, still stocked shelves, still punched numbers into the register. The only thing that changed was the folder in my kitchen drawer. Where the insurance notice used to be, there's a different letter now. The first time I made that $340 transfer into a new savings account with Hannah's name on it, I thought my chest would crack open. Hannah was at the table, doing a jigsaw puzzle she found at Goodwill. I sat next to her with my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. "What you doing?" she asked. "Something I should have done a long time ago," I said. I logged into my bank. Set up a monthly transfer. Same day the old premium used to hit. Amount, $340. From checking to Hannah Future Fund. I clicked confirm. The screen blinked. Transfer scheduled. Just like that. "Is it a surprise?" she asked, grinning. "Kind of," I said. "It's for you. But you're going to have to wait a long time for this one." She nodded solemnly, like she'd been given a quest. "Like till I'm 18, she asked. "Maybe longer," I said. "We'll see." She went back to her puzzle, humming under her breath. I sat there and let the feeling sink in. The knowledge that every time I swiped my badge at work, some of that effort was finally going to her, not to a man who couldn't say her name in the same sentence as future. We don't see my parents much now. They skipped Hannah's 10th birthday. Mom texted something about money and Dad still being upset. Hannah read it, shrugged, and kept taping balloons. Mark dropped the boys off for a few hours. My parents never showed. I left 2 extra chairs anyway, just to mark the empty space they'd chosen. We ate pizza, cut the cake Hannah decorated, listened to the boys sing off-key. The older one whispered, "Grandpa was being unfair. You know that, right?" And she said, "Yeah, I do now." After everyone left, she chose her favorite gift, a simple card with a cat sticker. "Because it's from someone who remembered without buying something huge," she said, sliding it into the shoebox where she keeps her important things. I added one more thing, a statement from her savings account. "This used to go to them," I told her. "From now on, it goes to you."